Yo, what is up, everybody? Stickman Blue here, and welcome back to another video. And yeah, this is going to be first time ever I'm making a video about, just a game review about a Roblox game that I play a lot because I find it generally pretty fun. Now, let me just say this one thing that it's already in the title and thumbnail. Is Hide from the Villain really good? Yes, it is. But it definitely has some balance changes that need to be done, because there are some balancing issues that really just breaks the game and just makes the game really terrible to play with, to be honest, especially with new people, since it's a really hard experience for new players to play because of how terrible the game is for new players. But I want to explain everything in my honest opinion about the game, starting with number one, the maps. Technically, the maps are okay, I guess, but the tower and the capital map, is that what you're seeing right now? Those are the only good maps, honestly, in this game. The newest maps being Shabaya? How the hell do you even say? Well, whatever. And the newest map, something that I don't even know what it's called, because I am really terrible at memory sometimes. But yeah, anyways, regardless, the two new maps are just done. They're just done so poorly, man. One is heavily survivor-sided, and one is heavily villain-sided. Come on, dude. We need, better maps, just like Capital and the Tower. Because those two maps were actually pretty good. They were pretty good for the villain and for the survivor. They were both balanced out, in my opinion. But with the two newest maps in the game, it just feels really terrible. Because, the second newest map, that isn't the new map that I don't even remember the name of yet again. The map is just too big. Survivors have it so easily because they have so many hiding spots, and it takes the villain so much more time to get to that point. And by the time they get there, the survivors are probably already at the other side of the map because they saw you just trying to get to them. And yeah, that is a huge downfall, man. And with the newest map in the game, that is heavily villain-sided because the map is so small. It is so incredibly small that if you use Soldier Boy or, Sakuna, then you pretty much have an instant win because they have the best abilities when it comes to, exploding. And it destroys so much of the map that the survivors won't even have anywhere to hide or, just to blend in. And yeah, it just pretty much sucks. But overall, I just don't like the newest update that they did with the deep and adding explosion effects. The explosion effects are just done so badly, man. And that's the issue with the explosions on some maps, on the two newest maps that we have in the game right now, is that when the villain or you, the survivor yourself, hit a vehicle, it just explodes and it pushes you. And that, sure, it's cool. I like the sound effects. That's the only thing I like about it. But I just hate the fact that you get ragdolled and stunned for a few seconds from as the villain or as a survivor. I just don't personally like it because, it just gets rid of the whole fun of you trying to play the game and you just get stunned by a stupid vehicle because the villain or your teammates, they just blew the car and they decided to just just get you ragdoll and stunned, and then the villain sees you and then you're just dead for a few instantly because you're stunned for a few seconds when you get hit with the explosion right in front of your face. That's the main issue. And that's also the second thing I want to talk about, the gameplay. The gameplay is honestly pretty surprisingly really well done. I will say the gameplay is really fun. I will say that it has only tiny bit issues, but overall everything about the gameplay is pretty done really well. Obviously, if you're a survivor, you have to survive 2 minutes on the clock, and you have to open some crates if you want to open some crates, and they have some useful items. They have a sledgehammer, which is basically a weapon just to defend yourself, a grenade, which basically hurts the villain, doesn't stun them, but it does hurt them, or you have a phone, which pretty much you just record the villain, and if you see them use an ability and you're recording the phone, you're using the phone on them when they're using the ability, it gets rid of some time of the clock, which I find really good. I wish they added a system that you get more money, or you get at least some credit for at least recording some of the footage with your phone while the villain's trying to use abilities or trying to kill some people. I wish they did that. Hopefully in a future update they will add that, where if you're using your phone and you caught them doing something using an ability or trying to kill some survivors, I really, really wish that, like, hopefully, please, in the next update, they add a system where, like, you get extra money or you get extra credit for, like, actually doing teamwork, because that is technically helping the team. You're getting rid of time of the clock by using the phone and recording the villain, like, doing some stuff. So that is something I actually really like. But the thing I just don't like at all is the main issue of the game just being the powers, which is the temp V. Now, the temp V is, well, it's pretty much just, as if you know the boys show, then you know what it is. It basically is, it just gives you a random power. But, you don't know what the power is. In this game, Hide from the Villain, you don't know what power you're going to get because it is completely RNG. So you take a temp V and yeah, you have to just hope like that you get a really, really good superpower, because it could be good, it could be bad, or it could just be like a power that you just use for yourself and not for the team. But honestly, I don't really hate the temp V mechanic that much. The only thing I just don't like about it is that you have to rely on your luck so badly just to get a really good power. Or if you want to, you could just get a power to just pretty much just help your team, but you end up getting a power that ends up helping yourself, and that just pretty much turns into trash. But it could be worse. Then again, I still like the mechanic that you do get random powers. It's not like just a complete guarantee that you get a really super overpowered power, like a really OP one. But yeah, I do like it a little bit, I guess. I just think the only time I do get annoyed sometimes is that you have to basically rely on RNG most of the time to get a really, really good power. But that kind of makes sense, I guess, because if it's a really, really good power, then obviously it's like a really, really rare power, which I can understand why now, I guess, now that I think about it. Yeah, I understand that the temp V, you need to rely on just RNG. I mean, then again, most of the powers aren't really bad. There are some that are just not that really good, but some of them are pretty good, I guess. Well, it depends on like what your team really is. It could be really good or really bad if you have a really good team or just pretty much a trash team. But, oh well. Let's get on to the other thing, the villain gameplay. Now, obviously, the villain gameplay is pretty simple. You just kill people. That's the whole point of the villain gameplay. And honestly, is like the actual fun part about the game. And also, the thing is that I like how it's insanely fast-paced. Like, you get 2 minutes to kill everyone. But the thing I do like also is that when you kill someone, you get 50 seconds on the clock, which is good because it's a good way to balance out the game to, villain, if kill someone, they get extra time. Because it wouldn't be fair if a villain kills someone and it took them an entire minute and they get no extra time. That would be just unfair. That is something that I do actually appreciate, is that the game is actually balanced out between both survivors and the villain. That, you actually have to, be really careful of what you're doing. And also, in case you forgot, you need to remember, you actually have to, speed things up a notch. And you also have to sometimes target one specific player if they have a really good power. If you have a team, like if you're going against a bunch of survivors that have really, really good powers, then yeah, you basically need to rely on just targeting them so you can get rid of them. Because if you don't kill them, they're pretty much going to kill you instead because of them having a really good power. So, that's the other issue that I have. Well, not really an issue, but that's the other thing that you should worry about when you're the villain. But if there's one thing I do like about it when you're the villain, is that just because you're the villain does not mean you're going to easily win. No, the survivors can kill you with weapons or powers, depending on what powers they have. But still, regardless, I find it pretty fun when, like, you're a survivor. You can rather just hide most of the time, or if you want to, you could just fight off the villain, which is something I like. I like how you have a decision, right? If you want to just survive, just survive. But if you want to kill the villain, then you obviously have to work together with your team and kill the villain. But if you don't want to help your team, then you could just hide in any section of the map. Well, it depends on what map you have, like the newest map that we have, or the tower, which the tower is like a really good map to hide. Just depends what villains sometimes you go against. But other than that, the gameplay of overall is pretty good. Now I want to talk about the other thing, the updates. Okay, now with the new update that they had like pretty much a month ago now, I'm pretty sure it has been a month. With the deep being added, yeah, honestly, I can see why people don't really like this update, because I played it for like weeks nonstop, and yeah, I understand why people don't like this update. The new map is all out terrible. I hate how the fact that if you fall into the water, you just instantly die. It's not like an option where like you have to swim before you like drown, or it's like a team thing where like if you see someone drowning, you can save them. But no, if you just fall into the water, you're just pretty much dead. And also, the thing that I hate about the most with the explosion things, with these cars and trucks all over the place in the map, is that if you get hit by a car and it pushes you into the water, yeah, you're just dead. That's the main thing that I hate about on the new map, is that it's so easy to fall off if you go like if you just like if you know you're not paying attention for a few seconds. And man, it is awful. And same with the villain. The villain also sometimes can, accidentally fall into the water and then, well, they don't die, but they do lose half of the health when they fall into the water. And that I just find incredibly stupid, man. I really just don't like how the fact that you just have to fall into the water and then boom, you lose like so much of your health. So that means all that progression to killing survivors is like the pressure has gone way higher now, because now you have to be more careful of not dying because you lost half of your health falling into the water all because of a dumb explosion. And that's the issue there. But yeah, and also the biggest map of the game right now, it's just heavily survivor sided. And yeah, I know that was the newest update, which happened a few months ago when they added Sakuna, and then this was his map, I think. I don't know anything about the character, but if you do, let me know about it in the comments, and maybe I'll actually read it. Or unless I just won't care, then I just won't read it. But if there's one thing that there's like I have a really really tough issue with like the newest maps that they have, is that one is survivor sided and one is villain sided. Like, you see the difference here. And if they have their next update, whenever that happens, is that hopefully they have a decent map that isn't like heavily survivor sided because it's so big, or heavily villain sided because the map is so small and it's so easy to get destroyed because it's not so open like the big map, which I still don't know the name of because I find it hard to pronounce. But yeah, that's the main issue that I have. Is just like the maps, and also like overall it's just like they're just not that good. Like the two newest maps, they're just not that good. But the other two oldest maps, the Capital and the Tower, those are the only maps I actually like because they balance out both villain and survivor. But the two newest maps, it just doesn't at all, man. Like, I just don't like it. And with their newest update with the Deep and all that, I just don't like Deep overall. Like, I've played the Deep like as a character, and yeah, the Deep definitely needs some balance changes because he feels so weak to play as. Because people say he's pretty good, and I can definitely agree that he is somewhat good. But the main issue is just catching up to survivors. He's not like Homelander where he could just fly up to people and just catch up to them, or he's like A-Train where he could just run up at them in like less than 5 seconds because A-Train's like the fastest character in the game. Or he's not like Sakuna where he could just fly up into the sky and just like see where everyone is and then just land on them. Or he's like Soldier Boy where he just charges up with his shield and just hope that he finds a person by hitting their shield. But nope, it is like the Deep has insane issues. Like, obviously, yeah, he has an ability where he can highlight players, but you have to catch up to them with like that one move where you have to ride a dolphin. And that dolphin move is just not that great because you don't really go fast at all. Sure, you can consistently hit survivors if you keep hitting them over and over again, but that's the thing. You have to find people to do that. And the thing is that it is really, really annoying to catch up to people with that move, with the Deep, because it's you are so incredibly slow, and people can just easily see where you are, and just they can hear you a mile away because of how loud your noise is. Unlike, well, not really, but Soldier Boy's shield, like, it's a lot more faster. Sure, you can definitely still hear him, but he is way faster. But the Deep, he just feels way slower, man, and that what makes him so weak, is that he has a trouble catching up to survivors. And also, I just don't like how the fact he has a squid that just places down ink. That's basically just a trap. I don't really like that ability, in my opinion. It just, you have to rely on people, like survivors, to be incredibly stupid to just touch the, the ink, and then you're like, oh, okay, they hit my trap, now I can kill them. No, that's just not the thing that I just don't want, man. I want the Deep to actually be a really, really good character. Him, all of his abilities having to rely on, sea creatures, because it's the Deep, if you know who the Deep is. So that is something I wanted, but they didn't really do him that justice, to be honest. Like sure, all of his abilities are, with sea creatures. Yeah, I understand that, but most of them, they just didn't feel that good. Like, I'm pretty sure there is an ability where he just doesn't move at all and just sends a swordfish at you. But that's the issue. You are extremely vulnerable. If a survivor hits you with anything, with a sledgehammer, a grenade, or whatever power they have, yeah, that's the issue. That ability just ends automatically. I kind of wish it was just like a move where you, like, it's just an AI automatically just controlling it for like a few seconds, only for a few seconds, like only 5 seconds or something, not too long, and it only gets rid of like a quarter of your health. That's it. It hits you once and that's it, and it goes back and it goes to a different person. That's it. But the problem is with the swordfish thing is that you have to control it with, like, yourself. You have to move your camera and all that just to, actually hit them. And that's the main issue I have, is that with you, like, your villain character, the Deep, he's extremely vulnerable because he's not moving. Meaning that any survivor can pretty much just jump you with their insane powers or weapons. And they can do extreme damage to you and you can't do anything because, you're using the ability. But yeah, that's just the main issue I have with the Deep, is that he's just not that good. And yeah, I don't know about that, man. I just have a tough issue with the Deep. Like, I can see him being a fun character. It's just that he's just not that fun to play as with some certain maps, especially with the biggest map in the game. That's probably like the worst map for every villain because of how big it is, and you're gonna have a serious struggle with that. It's just not that fun, man. But I want to get to my last and final issue with the game, which is not really an issue, but just the thing I want to talk about. Okay, now for this last thing of the video, and the last thing I want to talk about is overall the rating of me rating this game. Honestly, I like the gameplay. The gameplay is really, really interesting. It's really addicting, and it's a really good thing to loop and, make players keep playing the game because it's actually pretty fun. It's really fast-paced. It's really fun to play a survivor because you can have weapons to help out your team, or if you want to, you can just hide and, just pray and hope that the villain doesn't find you. But, that's pretty much it. Or if you want, you could just help out your team by having a power or just having some weapons or just recording with your phone and trying to get rid of some time at the clock. That is also really good. Now, the villain side, it's definitely really fun. I do find it really, really satisfying to play as every villain in the game. Some being weaker than others, some being stronger than others. Overall, I just like the villain gameplay, pretty decent. The only thing I just don't like about it is that you sometimes have to rely on, basically highlighting players to, actually know where they are. I understand. It's just a game, and it's not supposed to be taken too seriously. But I just kind of wish that some villains don't have to rely on just highlighting players every 5 seconds, because there are some games where if you're a killer or a villain or whatever, you don't always have to rely on highlighting players to know where they are. But, that could just be me. I still personally like the game, and it's really fun. The villains are obviously pretty fun. The survivor gameplay is it's pretty addicting sometimes. It's really good, and it's actually pretty interesting. It never gets really boring, unless you keep dying first every 5 seconds, and like in every new match. And, yeah, the maps are just, not the best. The 2 newest ones are obviously the worst addition to the game right now. And, yeah, the 2 oldest maps are the only ones that I like because they're both, balanced, as I already said. And, yeah. And also, the other thing I do want to talk about is the updates. The updates on the Discord server, it can be a lot of, time to wait and all that. And speaking of updates, they did say this month that they were going to update. And, add a system where, they can have 2 villains going against 2 villains instead of 1. And it was supposed to come out 2 weeks ago. And spoiler alert, that update never happened. They, for some reason, just scrapped that idea and they just never released it for whatever reason. I don't know why. They never said anything in their Discord server why they just scrapped it, all that, and they just never told they never told us why the update never happened. They just didn't say anything at all. They said the update was gonna release on Friday, which was 2 weeks ago, and then that was it. And then once it reached that day, they just got rid of the update and they just didn't say anything on their Discord server. That's something I'm a bit confused about. Hopefully they can add that because I would like it, and it would be, obviously it can be annoying for survivors, but it would be pretty funny just to see, you and your friend just throwing combos at random survivors when you're both villains. That would be pretty funny. I can agree on that. But overall, I like Hide from the Villain. I personally give this game an 8.5 out of 10. It definitely is really fun. It's really addicting. Maybe. Unless it's not your game, which I can completely understand that. It definitely has some major issues with, like, you know, the balancing on some major characters of the villains and some maps. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Overall, the gameplay for Survivors is good. I don't really think they should change anything with Survivors. Yeah, I don't think they should change anything with Survivors. Just hopefully they add like some new interesting concepts for like different, like with new powers that doesn't have to be always like from the boys, because they are adding villains that are not from the boys, which is something I am really interested in. But yeah, that's all I pretty have to say. I like the villains. I like the game. I pretty much just, you know, find this game pretty fun. Well, that's it for today, and I hope you guys have a great day / night, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stickman Blue out.